Welcome back to Nexus Tech. You know, November 2025 has been, well, it's been a wild ride. I mean, just think about it. In the exact same week, we got announcements about AI that can basically run entire companies and hardware that's 1,000 times faster than anything we have today. And then bam, in that very same week, the markets got spooked, crypto took a nosedive, and a massive security flaw popped up that affects billions of devices. It's this crazy contradiction. This is the tech paradox, and we really need to dig into what's going on.
And here you have it, laid out side by side. It's almost surreal. On one hand, you've got the promise, AI that actually thinks for itself, and this incredible leap in computing power. But on the other hand, there's the peril. The very systems we depend on are showing huge cracks, right? We're talking critical hacks and massive trillion-dollar market corrections. This isn't some far-off sci-fi scenario. This is happening right now, today.
All right, so let's kick things off with the good news, the bright side of this whole paradox. Because honestly, the promise here is just immense. We're talking about a shift away from AI as just a helpful tool or a simple assistant. We're stepping into a whole new era of what you could call corporate intelligence. AI that doesn't just do tasks, but understands and executes on a strategic level. It's a game changer.
Okay, and right at the center of this huge push is a brand new partnership between SoftBank and OpenAI. They've launched something called SAP OAI Japan, and their goal is, well, it's incredibly ambitious. They want to put truly autonomous AI right into the very core of major companies, starting in Japan before going global. We are so far beyond chatbots here. This is about completely rewiring the entire nervous system of how a business operates.
So, the foundation for all of this is a concept they're calling crystal intelligence. Kind of cool name, right? The idea is to create an AI agent that isn't just a mindless drone following orders. No, this thing is supposed to understand the big picture, the strategic goals. So just imagine, a whole team of these AI agents working together on really complex problems, running entire workflows from start to finish, all without a person having to micromanage every little thing. That's the vision.
But what does that actually look like in practice? Well, they've broken it down into 3 basic steps. First, a person sets a really high-level goal, something big, like optimize our entire global supply chain, okay? Then, step 2, the AI agents all sync up. They collaborate, they figure out how to break down the problem, and they divide up the work. And then, step 3, they just go. They execute. They're analyzing data, they're tweaking logistics, they're solving problems as they pop up, all by themselves.
And you know, this whole shift towards smarter, more integrated systems isn't just happening at the corporate strategy level. It's trickling all the way down to the developers too. The software giant SAP just made a really big announcement at their TechEd event. They're basically tearing down their walled garden. Instead of forcing developers into their own system, they're plugging their powerful tools right into the places developers already live and breathe. You know, like Visual Studio Code and Cursor. That is a huge deal for productivity and a sure sign of where the industry is heading.
And just to kind of wrap up this whole optimistic side of the story, check out this quote from SoftBank's CEO, Masayoshi Son. He calls this, and I quote, "the beginning of a new era of innovation that will transform how people work and businesses are run." And honestly, when you look at everything we just talked about, it's really hard to argue with him. The potential is absolutely massive. All right, but this future isn't just being cooked up in corporate boardrooms. Some of the most incredible progress is happening way down at the fundamental level, quietly reshaping the very bedrock of technology as we know it. Now, check out this number, 3.05%. I know. On its own, that might not sound like a lot. But trust me, in the fiercely competitive world of PC operating systems, this is a huge deal. It's historic. For the very first time, Linux has broken that 3% market share barrier for gamers on Steam. And Steam is, of course, the biggest PC gaming platform on the planet. And here's exactly why that number matters so much. See, for years and years, if you weren't on Windows, the number 2 spot for gaming on Steam belonged to macOS. Well, not anymore. As of this October, Linux has officially leapfrogged Apple's OS. That is a massive, massive milestone for the entire open source community. It really feels like a genuine power shift is happening. So, what's behind this incredible growth? Well, a huge part of the credit goes to this brilliant piece of technology from Valve called Proton. It's basically a compatibility layer, a sort of translator, that lets thousands of Windows games run flawlessly on Linux. Sometimes they even run better than they do on Windows. You add that to much improved graphics drivers and really slick distributions like Arch, Mint, and Ubuntu, and all of a sudden, Linux isn't just an alternative. It's a serious contender in the gaming space. Okay, so that's AI and operating systems. But let's go even deeper. What about the chips themselves, the actual hardware? How about this for a question? How can you make computers 1,000 times faster while using less energy? It sounds like it breaks the laws of physics, right? But believe it or not, researchers think they've found the key.
See, for as long as we've had computers, they've worked by shuffling electrons around. It's like a tiny, crowded highway. It works, but it generates a ton of heat, and it has a speed limit which we measure in gigahertz. But now, researchers at the University of Delaware have figured out a new way. They're using something called magnons. Instead of pushing particles, it's more like sending a wave of energy, a wave of magnetic spin through the material. These waves use way less energy and can operate at terahertz speeds. We're talking a potential 1,000 times speed up. This is a truly fundamental breakthrough.
Okay, so we've seen the incredible promise. But now we have to flip the coin and look at the other side of this paradox, because for every one of these amazing leaps forward, it feels like the systems we already rely on are being shaken right to their foundations by volatility, by new vulnerabilities, and by just staggering financial losses.
So remember that super optimistic quote from the CEO of SoftBank we heard a minute ago? Well, the market did not share his enthusiasm. The very next day after that massive AI announcement, SoftBank's stock took a nosedive, plunging nearly 11%. What a brutal and immediate reality check.
And this wasn't just a SoftBank problem, not at all. The entire tech sector felt this cold wind blow through. The Nasdaq dropped 2%, and NVIDIA, the absolute darling of the AI boom, fell almost 4%. It was a really clear signal from investors that they're starting to get pretty nervous about the crazy high valuations we've been seeing in the world of AI. And as the financial jitters weren't enough, at the exact same time, a huge digital threat surfaced. Google revealed a critical vulnerability in Android. And here's the really scary part. It's a zero-click exploit. That means a hacker can get into your device and run their code without you doing a single thing. You don't have to click a bad link, you don't have to open a weird file, nothing. And this thing affects a huge number of devices, everything from Android 13 up to the new Android 16. Of course, these financial shockwaves slammed right into the crypto market too. Bitcoin tumbled over 22% from its recent peak. Ethereum got hit even harder, down a staggering 36%. In a single day, the global crypto market lost nearly 6% of its value. That was enough to push the whole space into what the analysts call a technical bear market. The party, for now, seems to be over. And just to give you a sense of how fast and brutal this crash was, get this. In just 24 hours, more than $1.2 billion in leveraged crypto positions were liquidated. Just gone. Wiped out. That is an unbelievable amount of money disappearing in the blink of an eye. You could just feel the wave of fear spilling over from the regular tech markets right into the world of crypto. Okay, so with all this happening, how do you keep up? That's what we're here for, to give you your source for tech synthesis. Look, the pace of change is just accelerating, and it's easy to miss the bigger picture. If you want to stay ahead of the curve and understand the trends that are truly shaping our future, don't miss our next deep dive. The best way to do that is to subscribe to the Nexus Tech channel right now. So, let's pull all these threads together. Where does all this leave us? We've got this wild, contradictory mix of mind-blowing progress on one side and terrifying fragility on the other. What does it all mean? Well, it means we are living smack dab in the middle of the tech paradox.
And it's really important to understand that this tension, this constant push and pull between incredible innovation and deep fragility, this isn't a temporary problem. It's not a bug that we're going to fix in the next update. In 2025, it's become a core feature of how technology moves forward. The faster we innovate and build new things, the more shocks we inevitably send through the entire system.
And that leaves us with what might be the most important question of all. As we race ahead, building this amazing new world of autonomous systems and quantum materials, are we paying enough attention to making the world we have right now strong enough to handle it? How do we build the resilience to survive the shocks that this incredible pace of progress will inevitably create? That's the challenge we're all facing. Thanks for watching.